Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Concierge Tip of the Week for this Sunday. I hope everyone is well. I want to thank you for joining us on the EJ Brad and Kai YouTube channel, and it is your boy EJ Brad from EJ Brad and Kai. So, I want to talk about something good today about restaurants, but not just about restaurants and finding the right restaurant. You know, sometimes when you're out of town or even in your own city, you want to go out and have a nice meal, or you want to have a date night, or you want to have a special occasion, and you want to find the right restaurant, you know, a restaurant that has good food, quality food and service, you know, things that you can appreciate, things that you can talk about later and pass on to other people. So we are going to talk about different ways in finding the best restaurants, okay? So there are several ways, of course, to find a good restaurants. A lot of people do Google, you know, and they go to different platforms on social media to find good restaurants because it's about word of mouth, you know, about people's experiences and them sharing those experiences. But I want to talk about some things that are in place that you might not know about that will help you find top-rated restaurants as well. So if you're looking for that five-star restaurant or, you know, that fine dining restaurant, there are different tools that you can use to find those type of restaurants. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Now, back in the 1900s, a French company called Michelin tires. I know everybody's probably familiar with Michelin, and it's Michelin. You know, so they started a tire company, and back in the 1900s, they wanted to start a guide to help them kind of promote more of their tires and the motor and car industry, because in France it really wasn't that big, you know, in the 1900s. So they wanted to create a guide to help them with promoting and, you know, tires and cars. So along with that, they kind of expanded that idea and decided to make a guide for like restaurants and hotels and, you know, shopping and different things like that, but mostly for restaurants. That's what we're going to talk about today. And it's called the Michelin Guide. So I'm going to leave the link for the Michelin Guide in the description box below. But briefly, I'm going to talk about what that is. So it is a point scale system that was designed by these two guys in France, and their names are Eduardo and Andre Michelin. So they started this guide to help people find the best restaurants, and these were restaurants that they actually rated, and they had a great reputation for being, and still today, for if you see a restaurant that has a Michelin star rating, then that is like the best of the best, and it's based on how well the food is prepared, you know, the chef that prepares it, the quality of the food, the service, like everything about your experience. And if it's Michelin rated, then you know it's one of the best in the world. So, and this Michelin guide is worldwide. So it started in France and then kind of blossomed into other countries like Belgium and, you know, Germany and different areas and in Asia. So it's been something that's been around for a long time. And actually the first guide here for the United States was in 2005. So that's when they first created the guide for the United States. And it was based on 500 restaurants at that time, but now it's thousands of restaurants all around the world. So no matter where you go, you can look in this guide. It's broken down by categories of food, by regions, you know, and it's something that is essential if finding the best restaurant around in the world. Now, unfortunately, there are no really Michelin rated restaurants in Atlanta, but there are some great restaurants, and that rating for Michelin restaurants is kind of based on a few things. So if you have 1 star, that means it's a very good restaurant in its category. If it's 2 stars, it is an excellent cooking worth a detour. So that means that the cooking is excellent. And if it has 3 stars, that means it's exceptional. So that means that the cuisine is worth a special journey. That means you can go to another state or another country, and that's someplace that you must go to. So it's one of those exceptional restaurants. So that is something about Michelin. Didn't want to go too much in detail because it is a lot about it. But if you look at the guide and do the search for different regions and different areas in the United States, you'll see that there are a lot of Michelin rated restaurants around the world. And there are a lot of them in California as well. So San Diego, Orange County, a lot of good restaurants. So take a look at that Michelin guide and you can find a restaurant suited just for you. Now we are going to talk about Zagat, Z-A-G-A-T. So Zagat is a guide that had been around for a very long time. It was started in 1979 by Nina and Tim Zagat. So they started this guide, and the guide was based on what they wanted to see for restaurants. They wanted to be able to find restaurants and have actual opinions from some of their friends. So they decided that they wanted to have this guide, and they created a guide called the Zagat. And Zagat was very well respected years ago, like back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. They actually, if you had, it was just kind of like Michelin. If you saw a Zagat review, that means that it was a great restaurant. And they had these guides. They had the little pocket ones that you can fit in your pocket and you can take with you when you're on vacation. So that way you can find good restaurants. So, and they also expanded to like hotels and other things. But the Zagat reviews were based, like I said, on actual reviews. So when they actually expanded the Zagat book, it was like they would interview, or they would have 250,000 people review these restaurants from around the world and around the country, and they were based on their opinions of how good the food was, how good the service was, and it was like a 5-star rating from 1 being horrible or not as good to 5 being excellent. So you can actually research that, and I'll of course leave that link for you as well down in the description box. But that was a great guide, and that's the one that I remember most frequently because I would see it. It was like a black book, and if it said Zagat, you were like, ooh, those must be really good restaurants. And they were. Now, of course, I want to say, making this video, that people's opinions are their opinions, and some people have good reviews, and some people have bad reviews, and it's based on their experience. But you can't always go by people's opinions. It gives you a general idea of whether you should go to that restaurant or not. But I think there's other things too that you can look at to see if a restaurant is good or not. By, like, say if you're out somewhere and you may not even be going to a restaurant this day, but you see a restaurant and you say, oh, one day I'm going to try that restaurant. Well, if you go by there and it's during the dinner rush time and you don't see anybody in that restaurant, 9 times out of 10 it's not the best experience. That happened to actually Kai and myself and Aaron V in Vegas. We were at a restaurant that didn't have a good menu. There was hardly anybody in that restaurant, and we were like, I don't think this is a good restaurant. So we decided not to dine there because we couldn't find anything on the menu. There was hardly no one in there. Then we go down a little further and we see another restaurant that was crowded, like had a waiting list, and people were dying to get in. So that gave you an idea that this is a great restaurant to be at. And we waited about an hour for that restaurant, for the waiting list. When they called our names, we had the best experience in that restaurant. So, that's another way that you can find out. Also, too, whether a restaurant is authentic or not is depending on the type of food. Like if it's Mexican food or Vietnamese or Chinese, I would do some research on what's authentic, and then try those restaurants as well and look at the reviews. Now, since we're talking about reviews, I think that one of the best reviews websites on the internet would be Yelp. And Yelp is ideal, and I'll tell you why. Because they are actual reviews, of course, from people who've dined in the restaurants, but it's broken down into categories, and how many star ratings, just like Zagat, and they have the 1 to 5 stars, and you can see by how many, like, kind of balance it out, like how many good reviews do they have, how many bad reviews do they have. If there's more good reviews, then 9 times out of 10 that restaurant is pretty good. If they talk about specific dishes, on the menu that was really good, that's something else that you want to look out for. Also with Yelp, you will also see that they tell you, like, if they have a long wait time, if they have a wait list. If they have a wait list, it tells you that on Yelp. If they're no longer taking a wait list. So Yelp is updated, in real time, which I think is a great tool to use when you're looking for restaurants. And like I said before, people have their opinions. Sometimes it may be because they didn't get something with their soup, or the steak wasn't the right temperature for them, or it could be something as minor as that. So, sometimes those you can't take as serious as others because that might not be your experience. You might not like steak. You might like your steak well done. You might like your steak rare or medium rare. So, you have to experience things sometime yourself to find that restaurant or that food quality is to your satisfaction. Also, too, there are other resources that you can use. Go to the actual restaurant's website if they have one, and look at some of the reviews there. Sometimes they have their own reviews posted there, and you will see that, the restaurant has either good standing or bad standing. Also, too, I would look at YouTube videos. There's other YouTube videos that will have reviews on some of these restaurants. On Facebook, they'll have Facebook pages. So there are ways that you can look, and you can look at the comments on the Facebook page. They have videos about the actual food, so you can see the food. You can see how crowded it is on a regular day. Things like that will help you find the best restaurants around. So, in review of this, I want to say that Zagat is a good resource. Michelin is a great resource. And of course, Yelp is a good resource in finding the best restaurants around to dine in. So in conclusion, I want to make this short and sweet this Sunday. I want you to enjoy your day. Thank you for watching EJ, Brad, and Kai and Concierge Tip of the Week. And there is Kai. Bam! It's like he came out of those stars. Hey, Kai.
Hey.
And also, Kai has a platform. And Kai, what is that platform?
RB2G on all music streaming programs. Check me out.
That's
RB2G.
Right. RB2G. And yes, and he has a new single out called Acuniverse. So make sure that you check that out because it's one of my favorites, honestly. So you check him out, and you see our videos every Monday and Friday, and Concierge Tip of the Week on Sundays. So in closing, want to say peace, love, and have a wonderful Sunday, and we will see you on the next one. Wait, hold on 1 minute. You're not done yet. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, and also follow us on Instagram and Twitter.